Welcome back, and shedding more light on the African Arab Summit taking place at Malibu, the capital of Equatorial Guinea. We are joined in the studio by Ambassador Mohammad El-Ashmawy, a member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs. Hello, sir, and welcome to us.
Welcome. Nice to meet you. Thank you for the
invitation. Sir, now the African Arab Summit is taking place in Malibu, the capital of Equatorial Guinea, and this is the fourth African summit, and it is under the title of economic development and
sustainable development.
Economic sustainable development. But during the day today, we found that a number of Arab delegations withdrew from the summit. Of course, they started by the Moroccan delegation and followed by Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and other Arab delegations. So could you shed light more on the problem that took place today?
Well, it is an unfortunate problem and the very, very sad matter for something like that to happen in the such a summit, which began in 1977. The first summit was in Cairo in 1977. I remember it very well during the era of President Sadat in Egypt, I remember. And it was really after October War and the relations between Arab and Africa, the Arab world and Africa was in a very, very excellent situation at that time. But unfortunately, today we were seeing what happened since yesterday by Morocco, and because of the problem of the Sahara and the Polisario. So it's a very, very sad matter for something like that to happen, and unfortunate really. And I hope, it's something. It's making the future very difficult now to see or to understand what will happen. But it's a very sad matter, and I hope one day something like that will be solved. Which I can say it will be a very difficult thing, but what can we do? We are facing too much problems in the Arab world. We are facing too much problems in Africa also. Although Africa now is the new hub for the international investment, and we are seeing now the second scramble for Africa. The first one was in the 19th century. At the Berlin conference in Germany at that time, all the countries were coming and they come that was the imperialism at that time, and that Africa was divided between Britain, France, Germany, Belgium at that time, and now the second scramble for Africa is now going on. The United States is one of the biggest countries having great interest in Africa. China, Brazil, South Africa. Of course, South Africa is an African country, but it's a very developed country. India and Malaysia also, Singapore. All these countries are having a great interest in Africa. And unfortunately, the Arab world, because of the problems in the Arab world, because of our differences and the problem in Sahara and the Polisario, we are facing that situation, which is a very, very sad matter.
Okay, sir, apart from this problem that happened today, how do you describe the African-Arab relations in general?
I can say it should be. We are in the south of the world. We are developing countries. We are in the developing countries, south end of the globe. We should be in good relations. Our national security, the national security of the Arab countries and the national security of the African countries is, I think, there is a great deal of something to be done, and we should be depending on each other. Africa is the backyard of the Arab world. And the Arab world and also the Gulf countries, unfortunately, the Gulf countries having a great interest in Africa. Yeah. Now Saudi Arabia, we have Emirates, Arab Emirates, and Bahrain. They have very, very very good investment in countries like Sudan, like Ethiopia, in agriculture and in so many phases. But at the same time, this is what happened in Malabo, unfortunately.
Okay, sir, of course the summit was held under the title or discussing the sustainable economic development.
Yes.
How do you see the Arab economy so far, or any economic relations between the Arabs and the African continent?
Yeah, if we talk economically, there is a good situation for development, for cooperation between both sides, Africa and the Arab world. In the Arab world, we have the investment, we have the money, we have the good banking system, and we have investment should be coming from the and there is investment already there in Africa, in Ethiopia, in so many countries in Africa, in Sudan and Kenya. So there is the possibility is there, but the politics is now making all these problems now. It's making problems now. The Arab world now, you can see that how many countries facing too much problems in their national security, in their, like we have Iraq, we have Syria, we have Yemen, we have Libya. So many things, unfortunately. So if you talk economically, there is a good situation. There is a good possibility of economic development and economic cooperation between Africa and the Arab world. But because of the political things now going on and of the instability, political instability there in the Arab world and also in Africa, and we have the problem now of immigration.
Yeah.
The migration coming from African countries to Europe through the Arab world, through Libya and so on and so forth. So all these things are putting too much problems, and we are facing the same thing also because of the political differences, like that what had happened yesterday in concerning the Sahara and the Polisario. Okay,
there has been a proposal has repeatedly been raised by the Africa-Arab Economic Forum in order to establish a common market between both sides. But until this moment, this did not happen. What's the importance of such a common market, and why it's not taking place until this moment?
Of course, because of political matters. Now we couldn't come. It had not come into force. Of course, because of political problems, because of instability, especially in the Arab world and also in Africa, and because also of the interventions of the coming from the outside world, from the big powers. So the big powers, they don't want Africa to be in good relations with the Arab world. We have a country, we have Israel now. Israel, is against all these things to happen. I remember very well when the African countries came in during the October War, and they cut their diplomatic relations. All African countries cut their diplomatic relations with Israel. Of course, it came back again, but they stood behind the Arab world. They were hand in hand, really. But unfortunately, the interventions from the big powers, from a country which is making too much problems, like Israel also. So things doesn't come up, unfortunately.
Don't you believe that establishing such a common market will be like the EU bloc? It will give power and it will boost, of course, both sides, the Arab and the African.
It should be. It should be.
And it's a matter raised on the table, and they know its importance very well, but they did not take this step.
Because which had been should be there, the political stability there. There should be political stability in the two areas. Unfortunately, there is a problem now.
Sir, Africa has 12% of the global oil reserve, but until this moment, it's not playing as a world economic player, of course, in the oil market. Why is that?
They are. I think they are. They are now a very important source of oil, But you know, it came at the same time that the United States now is having a new, I mean, projects for oil also, for the United States and for the and also for exportation. So you know, the area of the Gulf of Guinea. The Gulf of Guinea is very important, where the Equatorial Guinea, the place of the conference which is going on now, the summit. So the Gulf of Guinea is a very important area for oil, and it is there. And I remember since about 15 years back, the United States started talking about leaving the Middle East because they have a source of oil in such
Africa.
A place like in Africa. So it is a very important thing. So China is depending on them.
Okay, what are the main obstacles that hindering the strong relations, economic relations, and of course trade relations between Africa and the Arabs? Of course, apart from the political problems.
Political problem, political instability in the Arab countries and in the African countries also. The problem of terrorism also. And also the interventions from the outside world. So the outside world and the big powers, they don't want good relations between the southern countries of the world, the developing countries. So they need, that's why we are talking about the second scramble for Africa. A country like China, like Brazil, like the United States, Russia are going, India are going to Africa for investment, and they don't want Africa to be in good relations, of course, all of them, with the Arab world, because this will be against their interests. So each one is coming to Africa, for his own interests. So they don't want the others to come. But although, if we talk, if we think of the matter in Africa as Africa and the Arab world as the Arab world, the interest of both sides is very good, and we can do too much things with each other, and each one is depending on the other, and their national security, on their so many things, economically, socially, culturally also. But unfortunately, the interventions and the instability is putting too much problems against doing things like that.
Sir, what are the fields that Africa are in dire need for?
They are in dire need for, of course, I can say investment also, and they are in dire need for also, having projects for the, what I should say, they are facing too much problems in their nutrition also, basic nutrition for the African countries. They are facing too much problems also, and they need also economic development, and they need new technologies also. They need new technologies, and the Arab world can do something, but unfortunately, because of the political problems and because of the instability in the Arab world and now in Africa also, it is hindering so many things.
We always hear that the Arabs want to make links between Africa and the Arab world through the roads in order to enhance the trade relations.
Yes.
We've been hearing this for years, but
yes.
until this moment, nothing happened.
Yes, but there is, they are talking about Alexandria and South Africa also, the road between them, and we have facing problems in aviation also. And the problem of what I should say in aviation, we have also in trains also between the countries, and so there is too much. There is really a good possibility to do something and to make the relations easier between both sides, but unfortunately, because of the political problems, because of the instability, also we are facing these obstacles. Yes.
Well, Ambassador Mohammad El-Ashmawy, member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome once again to Africa Today.
Shukran.
Thank you.
Shukran.
Well, by this we come to the end of our episode for today. I'm Dina Mamdouh. Thank you for watching.